let me answer, okay? Answer. Pot him down, please, because this is another MAGA who doesn't understand how to have a conversation with somebody.
It's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
I'm kind of a big deal.
This show will make you laugh, make you cry, and it might raise Brian's blood pressure.
You know what, dude? People like you, all you do is make excuses for the orange turd, and I've had it.
All the smash and grabs and everything. Yeah, tell me, what race is doing that, first of all?
Okay, so you want to be a racist now. Okay.
What race is doing it? Think it on the news?
I don't watch Klan TV like you do, sir.
Buckle up, because it's Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro.
You're different. I like you.
Now, here's Brian.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Boy, do we have a busy show lined up for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. The most interactive and fastest growing show throughout the country, and we're so glad you make us a part of your day. Could be on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, my personal YouTube page, at PTL Radio Show. We're also on X, at PTL Radio Show, the website, pushingthelimits.live. And boy, do we have a lot to get to with you today. Oh, yeah, it turns out that the man who allegedly was trying to harm Donald Trump in an attempted assassination, which, by the way, I believe is a hoax, he came in studio. That's right. He did an interview with me for over an hour. This is a hoax. I'm going to explain why coming up here in just a few minutes. Also, over there at Coachella, Donald Trump stranded hundreds of his own supporters, wouldn't bus him back, wouldn't pay the bill. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Daniel Litman from Politico. He's going to talk to us about a heckler at Donald Trump's event over the weekend, and Donald Trump once again inciting violence. We're going to talk a little bit about that. David Pollock, staunch Donald Trump supporter, conservative talk show host, is going to also be joining us at the bottom of the hour as well. But I want to start with this, in my opinion, hoax on an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Now, California sheriff by the name of Chad Bianco said, if you're asking me, I probably did have deputies that prevented the third assassination attempt. The man that they arrested is a man by the name of Van Miller, a staunch right-wing conservative, a staunch Donald Trump supporter that was caught with some illegal guns and some passports and some fake VIP passes that he printed out to go to the Trump rally. Now, this guy is a complete tool. He came in studio. He's an election denier. He is your typical right-wing MAGA middle-aged white supporter that is a conspiracy theorist. But they released him on $5,000 bond a few hours later. That doesn't sound to me like somebody that was trying to harm the former president of the United States. And don't you find it interesting that this is another person that is on the far right, another Republican? It wasn't a Democrat. It wasn't an illegal immigrant. No, it was a middle-aged white guy that happened to be a staunch Donald Trump supporter. So this guy, Van Miller, came in studio a few years ago because he ran for office. He lives here in Las Vegas. And in this clip, Van Miller is blaming CNN for why Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. Have a listen to this.
$1 billion worth of advertising against Donald Trump.
So what? That doesn't mean there's voter fraud.
I'm not talking about. I specifically took this out of the voter fraud topic. When I started my point, I said forget about one shred of voter fraud. What I'm talking about is when you have an entire mainstream media apparatus literally spending $1 trillion to get this guy out of office versus the $1 billion that he has in the bank that he's spending to stay in office. That to me is not a fair fight. They CNN, MSN, the network. They have the
freedom to do that.
They have the freedom to do that, but I
that
think
doesn't mean there's voter fraud.
A lot of it was based on
every candidate has the ability to advertise as much as they want. What does that have to do with voter fraud?
Because you have a mainstream media apparatus that's
what does
supposed
the media
to
have
be,
to do with voter fraud?
Because they have to be.
We're talking about felonies.
They have a certain number of. You got to have a certain number of fair. You got to have a.
That's not true. You think Fox News and OAN and Newsmax are fair? They kiss Trump's ass every single day. I don't hear you complaining about that.
They don't have the audience. They don't have the audience.
What are you talking about?
CNN does.
Oh, so now you're saying CNN has ratings? Because all I hear from Republicans is how CNN's ratings have been tanking. Trump talks about it. Now all of a sudden to figure narrative, CNN has ratings. Okay, so complete idiot, right? I knew the first couple minutes I was interviewing this moron that he was a conspiracy theorist idiot, blaming CNN for why Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, which is ridiculous. Why would somebody want to harm the former president that is a staunch Donald Trump supporter? It doesn't make any sense to me. And this proves it on my show because, yes, Vem Miller on my show telling you right here that he's supporting Donald Trump over any Democrat. Listen to this.
Support him, so
I mean,
you
how do you
seem to
know
be
I
defending
support?
him.
How do you know I support him?
If Donald Trump runs against any Democrat, who do you vote for?
Depends on who. Well, I would no, I would pretty clearly vote for Donald Trump.
Of course,
That's actually something
okay,
that there is
so
no
you support
Democrat
Donald
right now. That's,
okay, so before
you know.
gotcha. I knew you were going to answer it like that. So,
Yeah.
which is fine. Before 2016, Donald Trump was complaining about how elections were rigged.
Mhm.
Then he won in 2016, and for the next 3 years, I didn't hear any Republicans, including Donald Trump, talk about how there's election fraud. If you guys win in 2022, are you going to admit that you were wrong?
You know, I would admit I'm wrong on an evidentiary basis, meaning I need to see the evidence because I have no idea what happened.
So you need to see the evidence, yet you're claiming that Donald Trump won in 2020. Do you realize, with all due respect, do you realize how ridiculous?
Did I say Donald Trump won in 2020?
You're not willing to admit that Joe Biden won a free and fair election.
I told you I went through the voter rolls here. They're a big mess.
Are you willing to admit?
And there's a lot of evidence coming out that raises serious questions about the 2020 election.
Okay, complete buffoon. There is no evidence that has come out that would even come close to saying that there was enough widespread voter fraud that Donald Trump could have won. So, again, this guy's a conspiracy theorist and a lunatic. But here's an interesting part of the interview that I did do with him is that, for those of you that are unaware, there was a man that threatened our then Democrat governor, Steve Sisolak. He accosted him in a public restaurant, harassed his family, and Sisolak had to leave the restaurant with his family, and the guy followed him to his car, right? A crazy lunatic. And this guy, Vem Miller, who was just arrested over the weekend, called this guy who harassed our Democrat governor at the time, Steve Sisolak, rad, rad meaning cool. And I asked him about this, and he seemed to defend this guy. I found that very interesting as well.
I think when somebody like you, who's running for office, right, you're trying to become an elected official, you're involved in politics, says something like that, I think it could, not saying it would, but I think it could give power to other people that disagree with people to accost them in public. Whether you think it was a threat or not, we can, get into semantics, but he accosted the governor in public. I don't think we should be accosting anybody in public, Republican or Democrat. If you want to have a conversation with somebody, Governor, can I have a word with you? I disagree with you when it comes to blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm here with my family. Right now is not the time. I'll happy have a conversation with you outside or something. Or maybe he doesn't want to. That's his right. I just think I don't think there's anything rad about this guy's behavior. I think he's a moron. I think he's a disgrace. I don't think he's extremely intelligent based on the things he says with zero evidence to back up his opinions.
I mean, I agree with you on certain things. I think that like him in regards to how far he went with that moment, that's not the way I would have handled it, but I still do commend him for having his voice be heard, because what he represented, Justin, in that moment is the frustration of millions of Americans right now. And I don't think these are like crazy people. I don't think.
So he is defending this guy. He commended him for accosting our former Democratic governor. Let me be very clear on who this guy is. He's a tool. Anybody that would make fake Trump VIP passes to get access is a tool. That's who this guy is. He's a right-wing conspiracy theorist, and he's a tool. Now, if he had some illegal guns, which clearly he had in the back of his car, that's a very serious crime. But if this was an attempt on the former president's life, which, by the way, it wasn't, the guy was released on $5,000 bond a few hours later. And this California sheriff is an embarrassment. For him to go out in front of the press and to say that he believed that his deputies prevented a third assassination attempt is absurd. And there was no retraction. This was not an assassination attempt. This was an idiot. Okay? Vem Miller is an idiot. He's a tool who had fake VIP passes, who's a huge Donald Trump supporter, your typical middle-aged white guy who happens to support Trump, who loves his guns and loves his conspiracy theories. He is a tool, but he's not a murderer, and he's not an attempted murderer, and this was not an attempted assassination on the former president of the United States. That California sheriff should be fired. And then you have all these conspiracy theorists all over Twitter saying, oh my God, a third assassination attempt. They're trying to kill the former president. No, they are not. Let me tell you who is. A 20-year-old Republican from a staunch Republican family tried to assassinate the former president of the United States, and he was killed. That was an assassination attempt by a Republican. The second assassination attempt, a guy who once voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and was a Vivek Ramaswamy fan. No shots were fired. I'm willing to say that, yes, he was probably trying to get at the president, former president. I'm willing to say that. Not a Democrat, not an immigrant, another middle-aged white guy who is a Republican. And this situation over the weekend was not an assassination attempt. In fact, it wasn't even close. And this California sheriff should be ashamed of himself. Yes, I'll give you this. This guy, Van Miller, is an idiot. He's a tool. And yes, he had illegal guns. I find that, very serious. Do I think it was like an inside job, a hoax? I don't know if I'm willing to go that route, at least not yet. But why would the sheriff say that he feels like this was probably an assassination attempt, and then hours later they release him on $5,000 bond? Folks, does that make any sense to any of you? No, makes no sense to me at all. The guy's out already. He already put out a statement. He already said he was never trying to harm anybody, and it was normal for him to carry guns in the back of his car because he's your typical right-wing conspiracy theorist nut, your typical angry white guy. And this is the same guy who made anti-Semitic comments about me on social media. I posted some of those comments on my social media page. I had to block him on social media. After we did our interview and after I embarrassed him, he took to social media and he made anti-Semitic statements about me. I had to block him. I posted some of those statements. This guy's a lunatic. He's crazy. He's a right-wing nut. People like this probably shouldn't have their hands on weapons to begin with, but I do not believe, and there is no evidence to suggest, that somehow this guy was trying to kill the former president of the United States. That California sheriff is an absolute embarrassment. This guy, Van Miller, should not be allowed to carry guns. He's a nut job, but I don't believe he was there, at least not there to cause the former president any harm. I do believe him when he says that, and then all these people are going with it on right-wing media. It is a joke. It is an absolute joke. Yes, there are crazy people out there. This is another far-right, crazy lunatic Republican that hangs out with another far-right, crazy lunatic friends of his, the Jack Posobiec's, he takes pictures with Steve Bannon. These are the people that he admires. These are the people that many of these middle-aged white people admire. And while all that was going on, Donald Trump's campaign paid this bus company to bus in all these Trump supporters at Coachella. But there was one problem. They didn't fork the bill for this bus company to pick them up. Many in the aftermath after this attended rally, describing it as chaos. They had a 2-hour walk, sometimes more, 93 degrees outside through the desert, through a back parking lot. They had no water. They had no food. They had no restrooms. Why? Because the Trump campaign decided not to fork up the bill to bus these people back to where they came from. They were stranded in the California desert, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Donald Trump. This is the way this guy does business. And the rally was held, of course, at this outdoor venue where temperatures during the day soared over 100 degrees. And these thousands of passionate Donald Trump supporters braved the elements. You would think that the Donald Trump campaign perhaps maybe would have been able to fork the bill to bring these people back. Nope. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Donald Trump and the Donald Trump campaign. Now, speaking of this rally over the weekend, the self-proclaimed protector of women had this to say about a female heckler. There was a female heckler, and I don't know exactly what she was saying, but this is the moment where she's being kicked out. And as she's being kicked out of his rally, he says the mommy should beat the hell out of her. Have a listen to this.
home to mommy. She goes back home to mommy. Was that you, darling? And then she gets the hell knocked out of her. Her mother's a big fan of ours. You know that, right? Her father, her mother.
Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Her mommy, get the hell knocked out of her. But, you know, that's not inciting violence at all, is it? No, not at all. You know, when you see a heckler at a Barack Obama event back in the day or a Kamala Harris event, do they incite violence? Do they say, boy, I'd like to fork up the legal bill, beat the hell out of that guy. Boy, I'd like to punch that guy in the face. No. They don't say any of that stuff, but Donald Trump seems to say it time and time again. In this case, a heckler. Why is that? Explain that to me. Why is that? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Daniel Litman from Politico. We'll take a quick break, and we will be back right after this with Daniel Litman. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
Radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at radioyou101.com.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey accumulates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com. And get started.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Very busy weekend, of course. I welcome all of you to check out my new website, by the way, pushingthelimits.live, where we sell merchandise on there, and there's a donate button. Whatever you can do to help us out here, we appreciate. And it's one of the fastest growing shows, not just in Las Vegas, but throughout the country. We appreciate you being a part of what we do here. So Daniel Litman from Politico is going to be joining us in hour number 2. David Pollock, staunch Trump supporter, conservative, will be joining us here in just a few minutes. It's really mesmerizing to me when you hear people like Eric Trump. They're trying to kill my father. And he's insinuating that it's the Democrats, that it's Kamala Harris, right? And then you have this story coming out where FEMA had to withhold assistance for a couple days because of a right-wing nut that has threatened some of the FEMA workers that are out there doing God's work. Now, why would someone threat FEMA, and why would these threats happen? Just like the threats in Springfield, Ohio. Why? Because of the rhetoric being put forth by Donald Trump and those that support him. Misinformation and lies. Speaking of misinformation, they are not trying to assassinate Donald Trump. A 20-year-old Republican, a middle-aged white guy who once supported Donald Trump and was a Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley supporter. And now allegedly this guy at Coachella over the weekend, and this is a hoax. What do I mean by that? As I said earlier, California sheriff says he feels like his deputies may have prevented a third assassination attempt. That is exactly not what this was. This was another right-wing nut, middle-aged white dude, huge Donald Trump supporter, and a tool. Why was he a tool? Because they caught him with fake Donald Trump VIP passes. Only an idiot would do something like that, a complete loser. This is a guy that, if you look at his social media page, pictures with Steve Bannon, Vivek Ramaswamy, Jack Posobiec, and others, he's a lunatic. He came in studio and he did the show with me for an hour. Why? Because he was running for office back in 2022. Now, he lost miserably. Nobody voted for this guy because he's an idiot. He's a lunatic. Not to say that idiots and lunatics can't win and Republicans won't vote for them. Look at what happened with Donald Trump back in 2016. But point being, this was a right-wing and is a right-wing fringe conspiracy theorist idiot who I think put out some sort of weird documentary about the October 1 shooting here in Vegas, about how it was, again, an inside job. They all think it's an inside job, right? January 6th was an inside job. 9/11 was an inside job. They all think everything's an inside job and everything is rigged if it doesn't go Donald Trump's way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everything is not rigged and not everything is an inside job. January 6th wasn't an inside job. A bunch of right-wing fools like Vem Miller stormed the Capitol, chanted out, "Hang Mike Pence." Over 140 officers were injured. And those people know they're not patriots. They're not heroes. They're not patriots. They're not hostages. And what I believe happened here is this right-wing lunatic got caught with a bunch of guns, some of them that were illegal, illegally obtained, illegally owned. He got caught with a couple Donald Trump VIP passes. And then the California sheriff tried to make something out of this that it wasn't. This was not an assassination attempt. And if it was, they wouldn't have released him on $5,000 bond in a few hours. It was a lie. The California sheriff should hold a press conference and he should apologize to the American people. Either he lied or he jumped the gun. Call it for what it is. At a minimum, very irresponsible rhetoric. And then everybody on social media yesterday saying, "Oh my God, there was a third assassination attempt on Donald Trump." No, there wasn't. Now, I'm glad he was arrested. I don't want anyone obtaining guns illegally. I hope he's a little bit more careful. Anybody that, makes copies of VIP Trump passes is obviously a tool. He's a loser. He's a right-wing nut. And he happens to be a very staunch Donald Trump supporter. But doesn't it speak volumes of where we are now and who Donald Trump is that the Trump campaign would pay a company to bus in a bunch of alleged Trump supporters to Coachella so that the seats are filled at his rally. But yet, after the rally, they're all stranded in the desert. Now, I don't feel sorry for them because you got to be a certain special type of person to want to go to those lengths to even attend another stupid Donald Trump rally. But after the event, for hours, people had to wait with no food, no water, in temperatures even at night that were somewhere around 94 degrees. The fact that the Donald Trump campaign did nothing, the fact that the Donald Trump campaign doesn't care, speaks volumes as to who Donald Trump is. Why would you still support this man? Can you imagine if this happened at a Kamala Harris campaign? It never would. Could you imagine if Kamala Harris held a rally in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and then after the rally was over, the Harris campaign didn't bust those people back, that they were forced to walk hours to get back to their cars with no food and no water and no assistance. Can you imagine? Republicans would be all over the Harris campaign. The Trump campaign hasn't even released a statement. The bus company has already been asked about this, and it's been verified. They were paid only to drive people to the event in the buses. They were not forked over money or paid to bus them back. That has been verified by the company that was hired by the Trump campaign. This is par for the course, and this is a symbol of what they will do for you, ladies and gentlemen. This is a symbol of what Donald Trump will do for you. If he is put back into the White House, this is what he will do for you. He will only do for himself. It's the way he ran his entire life and all of his businesses throughout his life, and it's the way he will run his presidency again if, in fact, he wins the election next month, which I think most of us listening to this show would hope that he doesn't. This was not an assassination attempt. This is a hoax. This is a crazy right-wing lunatic who happens to live here in Las Vegas, who sadly I know personally, who sadly I had to block on social media because he was making anti-Semitic remarks, racist, homophobic, anti-Semitic remarks. He said he was going to run circles around me, and that's when I just blocked him, and I said, this guy is crazy. And the only reason why I interviewed him, the only reason, was because he was running for office. And anybody that's running for office, I will give them the time and I will speak to them. The first 5 minutes I started interviewing this guy, I knew he was a nutcase. Just like when I interviewed Tina Peters, who is now in jail. I knew that this guy was crazy. But he's also a staunch Donald Trump supporter. He's a Republican. These aren't Democrats. Now, listen, it shouldn't matter whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. I don't condone violence in any way, shape, or form. As much as I dislike Donald Trump, and probably dislike is a nice way of putting it, I don't condone violence, and I don't want anybody to try to harm the former president. I don't want any of these assassination attempts to happen because it's bad for the country, right? These were not Democrats. These are not left-leaning people. You have a 20-year-old who was a registered Republican. His family were staunch Trump supporters. This guy on the golf course that was trying to allegedly assassinate Donald Trump was not a Democrat. In fact, he was once a Trump supporter. He was a Vivek Ramaswamy supporter. And then this latest guy, you couldn't find a more staunch Donald Trump supporter than this guy. Faking VIP passes to attend his events, hanging out with the Steve Bannons and the Vivek Ramaswamys. It is absolutely ridiculous. Why won't this police chief come out and apologize? Why? That's the question that I ask. This may have been staged. I don't know. But what we do know is that this guy was carrying illegal firearms. We do know that for sure. So I'm glad he was caught. That's a good thing, right? I'm glad he was caught. But folks, what are we talking about here? Eric Trump says, they're trying to kill my dad. Well, who is they? It's not George Soros. It's not anybody surrounding themselves around Kamala Harris. It's not a Democrat. It's not an immigrant, undocumented or documented. It's not anybody. It's not a Haitian immigrant in Springfield, Ohio. Who are these people? Well, all three of them happen to be white. All three of them have voted for Donald Trump. These are not Democrats. These are not lefties. And while all this stuff was going on, I'd like to play you this clip. Laura Trump held a boat rally for Donald Trump in Florida over the weekend. And at this boat rally, there was one boat in particular that had a bunch of swastikas and white supremacists screaming out, white power. Have a listen to this.
Look at those beautiful swastikas. There we go, white power. Hell, Trump. Yeah, make America white again. Woo, woo, woo. We're out here in Jupiter, loving it, loving the good weather, blue skies. Woo, make America white.
Yep, make America white. What have I saying on this show over and over again of what a Make America Great really is. Now, I understand in this country we have something called freedom of speech, but why don't we see these Nazis at Harris rallies? Why are they only at Trump rallies? Can somebody please explain that to me? Maybe Donald Trump could answer to that because he would tell those people to stand back and stand by. Why? Why do we only see these Nazis, Proud Boy members, you name it, at Trump rallies? They're not at Harris rallies. Did Laura Trump denounce those people? Did she hold a press conference? Did she put out a statement? No, she didn't. Because make no mistake about it, this was her event. The leader of, one of the leaders in the Republican Party, one of the faces of the Republican Party, holding a boat rally for Donald Trump, and you have a bunch of Nazis that show up that are huge Donald Trump supporters saying, "Make America white again." Why is it that these kinds of people and these white supremacists that scream out white power are always Trump supporters? Can somebody please help me with that? Why is that? Why is it that Donald Trump won't hold a press conference and say, I disavow, I don't want these people at my rallies, I don't want these people at my boat rallies? Because I can guarantee you, if somebody showed up at a Biden rally or somebody showed up at a Harris rally, the first thing they would do would disavow these kinds of people. But yet, if they show up at a Trump rally, they seem to be welcomed with open arms. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Why is that? Can somebody please explain that to me? Why is that? This is dangerous. We should never tolerate this kind of behavior. It should always be called out. Now, I understand again, Americans have the right to show their white supremacy and their racism and their bigotry. I understand that. I'm not saying what they were doing was against the law. What I am saying is, why didn't Laura Trump call them out? Why don't far-right Republicans disavow? Why won't Donald Trump say they're not welcome at his rallies? He would never do that. Do you know why? Well, first of all, because I believe Donald Trump is a bigot himself. And second of all, he knows that the bigots and racists in this country, most of them, are Donald Trump supporters. He knows that. He needs their vote, ladies and gentlemen. He's pandering to these people. He's pandering. That's exactly what the deal is here. So just remember this when you go to the voting booth in November. Remember this. You can vote for who you want to, but just remember this. The Ku Klux Klan, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, these kinds of people are not supporting Kamala Harris. These kinds of people are supporting Donald Trump. That's evident. And I want all of you to remember that. The people that are supporting Kamala Harris are people of diverse backgrounds, every color in the crayon box, immigrants, so many of them, black people, white people, young people, older people. That's what America looks like. And as Kamala Harris says time and time again, go to a Trump rally. Experience it for yourself. Tell me what you see. 99% of those people are going to be white. Many of them are going to be very angry, middle-aged white people with their Confederate flags. I've seen it myself. With their F, Joe, and the Ho shirts. It's going to be filled with hate, filled with anger. I've been to both. I've been to Trump rallies. I've been to Harris rallies. I know what both look like. One looks like America. One is filled with joy and promise, positivity, and a plan for the future. And another one is filled with grievances and anger But I have a feeling the guy joining us right now will probably disagree with me on that. And that's why we always like a difference of opinion. So to review, we had a rally over the weekend, and that heckler was escorted out, and then Donald Trump incites violence. Get the hell knocked out of her, he says. We have what I believe to be a hoax of an assassination attempt. It was not an assassination attempt. The guy was released. And then we have a bunch of people stranded at his rally after because the Trump campaign failed to pay the bus company. So to talk to us about these issues and much more, happy to call him a friend, even though we certainly disagree on a lot of issues. Having him on. David Pollock from the David Pollock Show joining us right now on the show. David, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's always like, hey, here to answer for all of these things that piss me off about Donald Trump is David Pollock. Yay. Yeah, I'm sorry for being late, and I'm sorry for the shaky camera. My computer decided to crash. Like literally, I'm logging on to do your show, and I'm like, whatever. So I'm on a shaky camera,
happens.
holding it in my hand. But I do this for you. I do this for you.
I appreciate that. It's a conspiracy. I don't know what's going on with your computer. But anyway, in all seriousness, thank you for being here. All right, let's start with this alleged assassination attempt, which I believe to be a hoax. The California sheriff made the statement that he believes his officers prevented a third assassination attempt. If it was an assassination attempt, why did they put him on $5,000 bond and release him, David?
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I'm not buying the look. I know a lot of people were quick to call it an assassination attempt. I'm not ready to do that. I mean, in order to attempt an assassination, you would assume you would have to actually be in a position to actually almost assassinate somebody. So I don't think this was an attempted assassination. I think it was a guy who had illegal weapons in his car, who faked credentials to try to have access. I think maybe he's a groupie. You know, he's been at all these conservative events. You've had him on your show. I've been feet away from him in DC recently. The other day, I was feet away from him. He was interviewing people. So, and you know, he's been with, I think Don Jr. He's been with RFK Jr. I think some of Vivek. So, I mean, considering all the people that he's been around, you know, he might just be a wannabe who's trying to fake credentials and just so happened to have weapons in his car. I mean, he had an extended magazine that's illegal in California. So, sorry for my cameraman. I'm trying to get it straight here for you.
That's okay.
But
no problem.
But yeah, so I don't know if it's an assassination attempt. I'm not willing to say that yet, Brian. I think it's just, you know, some idiot who had a gun and went to a Trump rally with it in his car and tried to sneak in and get credentials to be cool. And maybe that's what happened. Now, of course, there's political ramifications to calling it an attempted assassination. So I understand why social media is going a little bit crazy. And of course, if the sheriff wants attention, sheriffs are elected officials, and I'm sure they'd want political attention as well. But I'm not
don't you have a problem with that, though, David, when you have a California sheriff obviously not knowing what the hell he is talking about, making a statement like that? I think at a minimum, it's extremely irresponsible. And then you have all these people on social media not knowing what they're talking about, claiming that, oh, my God, this was an assassination attempt. When I first heard that this guy, and I knew who he was right away because, you know, he did my show a few years ago, and he's also said some anti-Semitic things about me on direct IMs, which I posted on Twitter last night. I didn't think, even though I believe this guy, as you correctly pointed out, groupie is one way to put it. I think he's a tool. And I think he's a far right-wing nut who loves his guns and is a conspiracy theorist. But I don't believe he's a guy that would try to murder somebody.
No, I wasn't even in a position to do anything. I mean, look, yes, he had an extended magazine and a shotgun in his car. Who knows where he was traveling from? Look, a lot of people carry weapons with them. I don't know what, maybe the state he's from. I don't know where he's from. Maybe they allow extended magazines. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know much about this. I was recovering from a hurricane. I didn't have internet or power. And then when I logged on yesterday, everyone's like, did you hear what happened at Coachella? I'm like, what happened at Coachella? They're like, that guy. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But no, I do. I don't think anybody should be calling something an assassination attempt unless it was actually an assassination attempt. And I tell you why. I think it dilutes the actual assassination attempt that we're still investigating out of Pennsylvania. I mean, we still don't have answers. So
let's
calling
talk about that.
Yeah, but calling everything an assassination attempt, I don't think is actually a good thing to.
Well, let me ask you about that. Yeah. I agree with what you just said, David. But, you know, you have people like Eric Trump and so many on the far right that say, they're trying to kill my father. They're trying to kill the former president. And we all know when Eric Trump makes a statement like that, he's talking about Democrats. Even Donald Trump putting some responsibility on Kamala Harris, as if saying that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy can incite violence. Meanwhile, this is the same guy in talking about a heckler on the stage at Coachella said, get the hell knocked out of her. Calling someone a threat to democracy is not inciting violence. And this is something I wanted to ask you, because when they say they're trying to kill the former president, what do they mean by they're? A 20-year-old white Republican coming from a staunch Republican, Donald Trump supporting family, a middle-aged man at the golf course who once voted for Donald Trump and was a huge Vivek Ramaswamy supporter. I mean, when they say they're trying to insinuate Democrats and people on the left. These people were not lefties, David. I find that to be a lie.
Yeah, I don't think when he says they're referring to Democrats. I think when they say they means whoever is trying to look. Somebody is clearly trying to kill Donald Trump. I mean, look, they took a shot at him in Pennsylvania.
Not Democrats, and it's not Kamala Harris.
They never said Democrats are trying to do it.
Donald Trump has put responsibility on Kamala Harris. Eric Trump and members of his family blame Democrats.
I think the rhetoric, calling Trump a threat to democracy, I think the rhetoric is hot. I think that the liberal media is now. I don't think they do it on purpose. That there's a Fox News on the 5. She's a host. She's getting criticism right now because she said put the final nail in the coffin with Trump. I don't think she meant to actually kill him. No, I'm not telling you. Listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying. I'm not saying. I think that was extreme. I do think some rhetoric is being caught up in suggesting that it's violent rhetoric. I think a lot of it is just figures of speech.
David, do you think calling someone a threat to democracy is incitement for violence?
It can be. It can be in the context because when you say Donald Trump is the greatest threat to democracy, we live in a very heated and charged up political environment. People are really like fearing a civil war, and when you call somebody a threat to democracy, somebody might interpret that. Look,
okay, but let's go. Let me ask you, David. Let me ask you about this then.
Sure.
For months
sorry
before,
about the camera, man. I hate this.
You're okay. Don't worry.
For a media guy, this is driving me crazy. I just don't want to miss your show.
I appreciate that. Don't worry about it, David. I understand. So before January 6th, Donald Trump lied about the election in 2020. He still does. That's why January 6th happened. Let's just call a spade a spade.
That's what you believe. I believe it
okay,
happened for
well, it wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump didn't say the election was stolen. The same people that are saying, if somebody like me says Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, somehow that's inciting violence. But Donald Trump lying about the 2020 election is not. David, please explain that to me.
Well, look, you had a music video. I think it was Eminem. They had an image of somebody assassinating Trump in the music video. You had Kathy, whatever her name was, Griffith, holding a decapitated head of President Trump,
which was wrong, and Democrats called that out. And that's why
but what I'm saying is, if you look through the history of violence, suggesting that people do, Madonna, I have dreams of burning down the White House. Like you can't excuse violent rhetoric, and then when there's violence, instead of toning it down, they double down. They haven't toned down the rhetoric.
When you say there were pipe bombs that were sent to CNN as Donald Trump was attacking CNN.
Yeah.
There was something called January 6th with people actually died, David. Whose fault is that?
The only people who died on January 6th were the people demonstrating. Now, officers did die after January 6th, but it's not like they were murdering police officers there, as the media is trying.
They weren't. They were beating police officers with pipe bombs. They were hanging out.
Beating police officers with pipe bombs.
I'm sorry, not pipe bombs. You're right. I apologize. I misspoke. They were beating police officers with their own batons.
Okay.
They were getting sprayed with pepper spray.
There was unacceptable violence at the Capitol on January 6th. Now but there weren't all Trump supporters. We don't even know who was in that crowd, and we still don't know why Nancy Pelosi refused.
What do you mean we don't know? Well, hold on. What do you mean we don't know who was in that crowd?
There was insiders in that crowd, and I believe it was probably Antifa. A lot of people suggest it could be FBI.
There's no evidence that Antifa was in that crowd.
But we don't know the evidence. The only evidence.
What do you mean we don't know? What do you mean? Yes, we do. There was over 1,000 people that were convicted, David.
Well,
I don't understand. We know their history. We know where they're from.
There was over 1,000 people that pled guilty. So yes, they were convicted, but a lot of people pled.
Not all of them pled guilty.
No, some got convicted in a very biased and, in my opinion, unparalleled.
Where is the evidence that there was one person from Antifa that was in that crowd? Give me evidence of one.
There was video of people actually changing into MAGA clothes. There was video of it. Remember the January 6 tapes that Johnson promised to release that he never released? The tapes show that there were other people there besides just Trump supporters. There was videos of suggesting that it could have been government agents.
Why is
there. We don't even know.
What? Well, you're right.
We never got the truth out of
what
January
we do
6th
know,
because the narrative was so important that they never even tried to
I don't know.
uncover the truth.
I don't know what you mean by narrative. All these
No.
people had an opportunity to defend themselves in a courtroom. I don't understand when I
that's not
bring
a
up
fair
January 6th, and you're not the only one. MAGA Republicans out there always want to downplay what happened. But yet, when a Democrat or even somebody like me says Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, oh my God, you're inciting violence. But yet, when we talk about January 6th and over 1,000 people that were convicted, including many of them that are still in jail right now for very serious crimes, why is it that people like you downplay it? I don't. Why can't you just say it was a horrible day?
You said in jail for very serious crimes. There were people on January 6th that did some bad things. There were a lot of people on January 6th that got charged with very serious crimes when they weren't actually doing very serious things. I know several of them. People who were just happening to either be walking around taking pictures. People who were pushed into the building without any control of around them because of the pushing mobs.
People
that
were pushed into the building and they didn't want to be in there. Is that what you're claiming? That's like saying
I know people who were pushed into the building. When you ever been in a mob of people?
Then why didn't they turn around? Why didn't they turn around?
You can't turn around against people that are pushing you in a direction.
So you're telling me people are in jail right now?
I've spoken to them.
So you're telling me people are in jail right now that were pushed into the building and couldn't leave.
Well,
Is that
they
what
may
you're
not be in
claiming?
jail anymore. Many of them serve sentences. And here's the messed up part about this. They were all convicted under 1512, which was an Enron statute that was put in place to destruct evidence. But because they wanted to put these people in jail so bad, nobody was charged with insurrection. They tried to charge a couple of people with terrorism.
I mean, I'm not trying to make a joke here because this is a very serious topic, but that's like finding your wife sleeping with another guy and the guy's excuse coming out of the bedroom is, I fell on top of her. David, come on, give me a break here, my man.
Eminem has a line like that.
Give me a break. Listen, nobody was pushed in there. And then
I've spoken to them. I know.
Then why didn't they turn around and leave? And why were they that close to the Capitol to begin with? And why didn't they turn around and leave?
Because they were protesting outside of the Capitol. There were people who showed up. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but there were people who showed up after the doors were already open, not realizing that they broke in and they walked in. Listen, I know I've spent a lot of time with January 6th families, and there are some people who really, this criminal justice system abused them. And I'm not saying it's everybody, but I can't with a broad brush just paint everybody as being the same people that day. They're not.
All right. Well, the overall majority of those people were from right-wing fringe groups that were Donald Trump supporters that had the chance to defend themselves in a court of law. Some of those people are in jail. And the point that I am trying to make is Democrats out there or people out there that I believe are aware of what happened on January 6th, do believe that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. He says he wants to rip up parts of the Constitution. He said, at least on day one, he would be a dictator. He's talked about retribution.
All of that is taken out of context. You know that.
That's what I hear from every Trump supporter. Whenever he opens up his mouth, they go into a pretzel and they say, that was taken out of context. Listen, if you want to, I heard the same thing when he talked about the disinfectant injecting nonsense. And then the next day he said it was a joke. And I heard all Republicans saying, oh, that was taken out of context. He was just joking. Why is it you guys always put yourself into a pretzel every single time Donald Trump opens his mouth? When he said over the weekend to a heckler, she should get the hell knocked out of her. Mommy should beat the hell out of her. Are you condoning that as well? Because he seems to do this all the time. He said that to in regards to a heckler over the weekend.
I don't know. I didn't see that part, so I can't comment on it. I'm sure there's other context missing, but I don't want to speak on things I don't know about.
He said, quote, go home to mommy to get the hell knocked out of her. Quote, verbatim. I mean, can you imagine if Kamala Harris made a statement like that at one of her rallies to a Trump supporter that was there?
Well, depends on what accent she's using. I don't know. I think there's a lot of dangerous rhetoric coming out of the left, and I think when you've had and thank God for this, nobody has attempted to assassinate Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, but people have tried now twice to assassinate Donald Trump. So under these circumstances, you can't tweet political violence has no place in our society, and then in the next moment go back to the same rhetoric that people can misinterpret and
How
use
could
it.
somebody misinterpret Donald Trump as a threat to democracy? I'll say it every single day until Election Day, and I'll say it proudly and gladly. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. He is a threat to the United States of America. I point out January 6th. I point out the $2.1 billion Jared Kushner received from the Saudis when he didn't bring Mike Pompeo out there. He gave Vladimir Putin COVID tests in the middle of COVID and told Putin to keep it quiet. How is that not a threat to our democracy?
listen, you are a radio host and a good one. You're a radio host. You have a right to say those things. I believe in the First Amendment. So when you say Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, cool. You have an audience, you have an opinion, and you're entitled to it. But when Kamala Harris says that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, when Joe Biden says Donald Trump is when the president of the United States calls their political rival, who, by the way, is being investigated and or indicted by their own Justice Department, when they call him a threat to democracy, that's a much different situation. In my opinion, I think that's dangerous rhetoric.
I'm just confused at that. I really am. And the reason why I'm confused is because he still is an election denier. And I believe any election denier is a threat to democracy. And every single day we hear Donald Trump, in my personal opinion, using very dangerous rhetoric. Kamala Harris is not responsible for a 20-year-old Republican trying to assassinate Donald Trump. Kamala Harris is not responsible for a middle-aged white dude who once was a Trump supporter and now Vivek Ramaswamy supporter trying to assassinate Donald Trump. I don't know why people would even come close to making that correlation. It just confuses me. It really does.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sorry you're confused. I believe some of the rhetoric. I do stand by my statement. I think I think the rhetoric needs to be toned down. Remember the vice president debate? It wasn't great, but there was a vice presidential debate, and every single person I spoke to that watched a debate, regardless of who they thought won, they said, "Oh, isn't it nice that two people can sit on a debate stage and be civil to each other and get along?"
Donald Trump is incapable of doing that on a debate stage, and you know it.
The way they have treated Donald Trump in the media,
please.
It's what you get.
That's
honestly
ridiculous.
Barack Obama's rhetoric gave birth to Donald Trump's. It's not like Donald Trump came out of
Donald
nowhere.
Trump for 5 years said Barack Obama wasn't even born in the United States of America.
And he was entitled
have
to
a
say
problem with
that.
that.
Well, he's entitled to say that, just like you're entitled to your opinion. But my point is, the rhetoric didn't originate with Donald Trump. The left's rhetoric against Republicans, against Donald Trump, has been hateful, has been divisive. What Donald Trump is a symptom of the left's hateful rhetoric. And if you want to clean up rhetoric in this country, you got to start with Democrats. They have to stop calling.
Can you find me one Democrat that has a nickname negatively about every single one of their political opponents? Can you find me one Democrat in office today that incited the mob to extort the to go into the Capitol?
Yeah.
Can
Nancy
you
Pelosi incited the mob because
nonsense?
she did not get the Capitol Police.
First of all, you're talking about Nancy Pelosi maybe not securing the Capitol. That's not inciting a violent mob to go to the Capitol. And by the way, that's very
rolling out
debatable.
the red carpet for a mob that she knew was coming is just
She
as
did
bad
not
as
know the mob
inciting it.
was. That's not true. She did not know that was going to happen.
She
And
was
you could also,
told there was
and
a
if you have a
security threat,
problem
and she
with,
was asked to increase Capitol Police, and she didn't.
if you have a problem with Nancy Pelosi and what she did that day, why have I never heard you complain about Donald Trump sitting on his ass in the White House for 4 hours and doing nothing? Begged. The first lady was begged. Stephanie Grisham texted her, "Can you please put out a video denouncing the violence?" No, she says. Donald Trump was sitting in the White House for 4 hours. He did absolutely nothing. And people around him who have testified under oath have said that
he tweeted that the people should peacefully assemble. And then 2 hours later, he said, "Go home." That's what he said.
For
in the
4
tweet.
hours it took him to put out that video. He was asked, and for 4 hours he was being begged to put out that video. And you failed to mention in those tweets that was since deleted, he was going after Mike Pence. If only Mike Pence did the right thing. He was continuing the rhetoric while the mob was chanting out, "Hang Mike Pence." But you want to blame Nancy Pelosi? I'm sorry, dude, but if Donald Trump didn't say for
allowing
months,
an insurrection, listen, my opinion is, and of course, this is my tinfoil hat conspiracy. My opinion is they wanted that quote unquote insurrection at the Capitol so they can use it to put down any claims of election interference, because they have used this, or at least to hurt Donald Trump to keep him from being reelected, because this whole insurrection narrative has never been put to bed. Regardless of the 1,000 convictions that you referenced, they never put down this insurrection conspiracy nonsense. And this is the thing, they can't move past it, and they're trying to use it. And if I see people trying desperately to use a narrative and keep it alive, it makes me think that maybe some efforts put behind creating the narrative to begin with. And when you're taking convictions of people for destruction of evidence, not for insurrection, and calling them January 6th convictions, look, I'm just saying, It's not honest. It's not an honest discussion. Now we can say that Donald Trump didn't do enough on January 6th. I think he did. I don't think he had control over that mob. He didn't even know what was going on because he was across town. It wasn't until that was ended that he realized what was going on. And
He
after
said
that,
he was going to march with those people. He never
right,
did.
because
He
it was
said
supposed to be a
and
peaceful
for 4
demonstration,
hours,
but other people showed up.
He was watching the television. How do we know this? Stephanie Grisham and others that were in the White House testified under oath what he was doing that
Stephanie
day.
Grisham, who is no longer a fan of Donald Trump's, right?
Yes, so because you're not a fan,
I'm saying,
there
how
are
credible
40
is that?
members. There are 40 members of his administration, including 5-star generals, who say he's incompetent. He should never see the White House again. So because they don't want to support, these are people that knew Donald Trump the best. These are people that worked with him. Isn't that important to you? The
No, 'cause
people
I
that
don't
worked
believe-
alongside him and know him the best are the people, many of them that are supporting Kamala Harris. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
No, because one of my biggest criticisms of Donald Trump is that he surrounded himself with the wrong people. The Republican establishment hated Donald Trump from day one,
Gotcha.
sabotaged Donald Trump from day one, but Donald Trump trying to make deals with people, trying to make peace with the Republican Party, invited all those snakes into his White House, and they stabbed him in the back the first opportunity they could. So
Okay,
no,
so
I don't hold them as credible people, no.
Okay, so let's go with that. Let's talk about the wrong people, credible people. If Donald Trump is reelected and he wins the election in November, he's going to have Steve Bannon. He's going to have Stephen Miller. He's going to have Sebastian Gorka and a plethora of convicted felons that are going to be working in the White House with him. And you know that. Would you call those people, quote, the right people?
You know what? If they're effective and they get the job done and they're loyal to Donald Trump, yeah, they're effective. Because other people stab him in the back and they're not doing the people's work. As far as I'm concerned, if the American people elect Donald Trump and those are the people he picks, the American people is the one who put Donald Trump in charge, and he's entitled to pick who he wants.
He is entitled to pick who he wants. And I would never say that that is not true. But I just want to say for the record, people like Stephanie Grisham and the 5-star generals like General Kelly and General Milley and others, those are the wrong people because they've been honest about what it was like working for Donald Trump. But those are the 5-star generals are the wrong people.
Just
but when I
because
bring
they're
up
5-star generals doesn't mean they don't like Donald Trump and they have an axe to grind.
it's an issue of credibility. And you're saying those people don't have the credibility and they're the wrong people. But then when I bring up convicted felons, people like Stephen Miller and Roger Stone and Sebastian Gorka, these kinds of
Gorka's
people.
a convicted felon?
I didn't say all of them were, but some of them are. The Navarros of the world. These are the kinds of people that will be working in his administration. You have no problem with convicted felons working underneath Donald Trump because they might do a good job. But all the 5-star generals and all the heroes and all the officials that worked under Donald Trump in that first administration, they don't have the credibility and they're, quote, the wrong people because they're being honest about what it was like to work with Donald Trump. But you're saying, well, they just have an axe to grind with them,
There's
so
a
they all
lot
must
of
be lying.
people. Did you see Harmeet Dillon's interview with Tucker Carlson? Some people have said is really horrible.
I don't watch Tucker
about
Carlson
Kamala
because
Harris too.
I don't watch Tucker Carlson because he's a white supremacist and he jokes about.
But
I don't watch
Dillon,
that kind of stuff.
When Harmeet Dillon, who worked with Kamala Harris, says Kamala Harris is corrupt, is that credible or not? Shouldn't we accept that as true?
And what did he do? What did he say? What did she do that's corrupt? According to one person, by the way, you have
campaign finance violations. She didn't even vote till she was 30. I mean, there's
okay.
a lot
So
of,
not voting until you're 30. So what? I don't understand. Why is that an issue?
She wasn't engaged in the political process. Then when she does become engaged,
and Donald Trump was engaged in the political process when he was 30.
I'm just saying if we're going to take,
saying you support Donald Trump. To each their own. Was Donald Trump really, besides donating money to Democrats, by the way, which I don't hear Republicans ever bring up. So, I mean, first of all, when you say she's corrupt, you have one person that did an interview. You have people that actually worked underneath Donald Trump that say he broke the law and it was dereliction of duty on January 6th. But you want to discredit all those people. But one person does an interview with white supremacist sympathizer Tucker Carlson, and all of a sudden that one person has credibility. But you have a handful of people that worked underneath Donald Trump for years in his administration, and you want to just cross off all those people. Oh, they have an axe to grind with them. Do you see where I'm going with that, David?
Yes, I agree with you. I stand by that. Yes.
Okay. I'm just saying, I mean, one guy doing an interview and then you have a handful of people in the Trump administration.
Yes.
But anyway, so we at least agree on this, that this was not an attempted assassination.
Yeah, I'm not ready to call it that now.
Yeah,
unless
this California sheriff
are
is
revealed, I'm not ready to say that.
He should retract. Complete moron. I know you didn't hear the comment, get the hell knocked out of her, that Trump made over the weekend, but I think that's a very serious statement and at a minimum inappropriate. I want to ask you this, though, before we go, David. So after Coachella, as you know, Donald Trump's campaign paid a bus company to have a bunch of these people bust in to see the rally. Okay, no problem, right? Great. They were stranded there for hours because Donald Trump's campaign refused to pay the bill to have that bus company pick up those people, bring them back to their cars. 94 degrees outside, no water, no food, no restrooms. How do we know this? Because it's been verified. It's not a conspiracy theory. Not just what those people had to go through. Many of them have already done interviews with the media, but the bus company has already been asked about this. And on the record, they said, yeah, Trump didn't pay the bill for those buses to bring
Trump
them
was
back.
standing there with his checkbook out, and the bus company was there, like, Mr. Trump, we need you to pay this. And he's like, no, I'm not going to. Or was it people on his team?
No, the campaign decided to pay people to bus them in, but didn't pay them to bus them back. Don't you find that to be repulsive?
I mean, if it was, I got to look into it to find out what went into it. It could have been a miscommunication. It could have been a mistake. It could have been, who knows? I don't know. I don't know enough about it to comment on it. I just don't think it was Donald Trump standing there with his checkbook out going, nah. So, I mean, to say Donald Trump left them stranded, I'm not sure that.
Well, I mean, that's what happened. I mean, his campaign did. This is a reflection of Donald Trump. It's his campaign. And I can tell you, if Kamala Harris made that same mistake, I would call that out on the air today and say, boy, they made a big mistake. To treat your supporters that way is awful and it's wrong. But you see, she doesn't do that because I go to her rallies and his rallies. At her rallies, all sorts of snacks and pizza and water and drink.
Their buses run on time. And they would all the people they're busted into Kamala's rally.
Donald Trump never runs on time. You know that. I've been to some of his rallies here in Vegas. He's always late, David. He's always late, man. I'm just telling you, his events don't run on time either. Is there anything I can say, David, to change your mind at all on anything? Anything at all?
I mean, what do you want to change my mind on?
I don't know. Don't vote for a rapist. I mean, I don't know. Is there anything I can say? Anything at all, David?
Yeah, that's why I didn't vote for Clinton, and that's why I didn't vote for Biden. That's
but Clinton's not running for. Biden's not a rapist.
No, well,
is he?
He's not a rapist. No, I wouldn't say he's a rapist. No.
So what would you say he is then? That's interesting. Tell me.
He's just an old guy.
Okay, we agree. That's how he's not running. That's why he's not running. That's why he's not running. Is there anything Donald Trump could do in 2024 right now where you could say, okay, I can't vote for him? Anything at all that he could possibly do? Like if he was, I don't know, like, is there anything? I'm trying to search here. Like if you gave Vladimir Putin a massage on a massage table, would you have a problem? I don't even know. Like what?
I mean, look, if he's a licensed masseuse, I mean, everybody has the right to do business. Listen,
all right, fair enough.
You know I love Donald Trump, and you know I've supported Donald Trump since 2016, and you know
yes,
I've supported him through all of the things that make you angry. I can't think of a thing that would make me vote for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. I can't think of a thing. I really can't think of a thing that would make me. And I haven't voted yet, but I'm close to.
What if he shot somebody on Fifth Avenue?
Well, who did he shoot? Did they?
I'm just putting a hypothetical. I didn't say he did, but he did say I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support me. David, are you a part of that group?
Well, it depends on who he shot and why. No.
All right. Fair enough. Well, David, I know you're planning on coming out here to Vegas in a few weeks, so hopefully we can we can get you in studio. I do always appreciate the time. Always appreciate being a good sport and coming on. And enjoy your show, the David Pollock Show, and we'll have you on again soon, my friend. And again, thank you for the time, man. Really get your computer fixed, by the way.
I have a show tonight, and my computer's not working. This is a serious problem.
You got to fix that. I think it's the deep state. You got to work on that. But
I think it was a hurricane and power surges. But
I'll see if it was George Soros and if he was involved. But anyway, David,
ask him for me, okay?
I will. I'll ask him for some money too. Thanks for the show. Thanks for the time, David. Always appreciate it, my friend. Have a good one.
Take care.
You too. Take care. That's David Pollock, everybody, from the David Pollock Show. Look, man. Boy, there's a lot to dissect in this interview. There's no evidence that Antifa was responsible at all for January 6th. There's no evidence that it was an inside job. There's no evidence other than there were a bunch of Trump-loving white supremacists from right-wing fringe group idiots that stormed the Capitol that day, and some of them did some very serious harm, and some serious crimes were committed that day. If your campaign makes a mistake and does something really stupid or wrong, It's a reflection on your candidate. You had hundreds of Donald Trump supporters out there after this rally over the weekend that were stranded. They didn't have water. They didn't have food. There were no restrooms. That's not just a mistake. It's a mistake when you lock your keys in your car. We all make mistakes. This was intentional. They did not want to fork up the bill to pay these bus companies to bring these people back to their cars. So what did these people have to do in 94 degrees at night? They had to walk hours to get back to their cars. How do we know this? Because they spoke to members of the media and they were pissed off. Now, probably these are the same right-wing buffoons that will still support Donald Trump because they're dumbbells. This is a reflection on who Donald Trump is. This is how he does business. He is selfish. And this is not a surprise. This was also not an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. That is also a lie. The California sheriff should be fired immediately. He said, I probably had deputies that prevented a third assassination attempt. You don't release somebody on $5,000 bond a couple hours later if this was an attempted assassination. This was a tool, another typical middle-aged white right-wing Donald Trump supporter that's obsessed with his guns. Some of them were illegally obtained. And this was a tool who forged a couple VIP Donald Trump passes because he's an idiot. That's why. I mean, it'd be one thing if you forged U2 backstage passes. At least I'll give you credit for trying. But to a Donald Trump rally, you have to be a special type of loser to do something like this. And yes, it was dereliction of duty on January 6th when he sat around and did nothing for 4 hours. Yes, it was. Go home to mommy to get the hell knocked out of her, he says about one of his supporters. All right, I'm sorry, one of his hecklers who was escorted out of the event. Why are all these threats come from the right? Why do all these threats come from MAGA supporters? Why do all these threats usually come from Donald Trump and his base of supporters? Why is that? And how is it possible that, somebody could say, well, I don't think there's anything Donald Trump could do. I would still vote for him. It's insane. It is absurd. And I had to deal with some of these Trump supporters. I had to deal with some of them outside the Kamala Harris Univision event last week. I played you the audio. I have the video. I put it on social media. Guy hit me with his Trump flag. People getting right in my face and screaming at me. Oh, but Brian, you're an agitator. No, when people are stupid and they don't answer my questions and they have no sense of reality, that's what I will call them. I would like to have civil conversations with people. I would like to pick their brain. I would like to find out why. Why are you still supporting a 34-count felon sexual abuser? Why? What does Donald Trump have to do for you to say, hey, you know what? Probably not going to support this guy anymore. What does he have to do? Well, we're a little more, maybe 3 weeks away from the presidential elections, right? A little more than 3 weeks away. And we all have a very important decision to make. Mine was made a long time ago. I would vote for a ham sandwich over Donald Trump. But some of you are still undecided. Some of you are one way or the other. I believe this election is a coin flip. I believe it can go either way right now. That could change in a couple weeks. Right now, I believe it's a coin flip. I think it could go either way. Look at the last couple days, what has transpired and what has taken place here. You have right-wing fringe groups and right-wing members of the media that are attacking Tim Walz for taking too long to load a gun when he was hunting. But you don't hear them talking about Donald Trump sending COVID test kits to Vladimir Putin in the heart of the pandemic when we were at a shortage. You don't hear them calling out Donald Trump for inciting violence, one of the hecklers at his rally. You don't hear them calling out Donald Trump for stranding hundreds of his supporters. Oh, no. Nope. They want to focus on Kamala Harris's accent, which is what David Pollock just said. That's what they want to focus on. J.D. Vance will not admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. And this is a guy who could be one heartbeat away from being the leader of the free world. When asked about January 6th, he said, yeah, January 6th did happen, but we had a peaceful transfer of power. That is like saying, yes, George Floyd was murdered, but his funeral was peaceful. Again, this is a guy one heartbeat away who could be the next president of the United States. That is why I say, and I will say every single day until the election, that Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. These far-right MAGA nitwits are a threat to democracy. And it has already been proven. If January 6th isn't enough proof for you, what about the guy who says he's going to rip up parts of the Constitution? What about the guy who puts pressures on Republican secretaries of state? I only need to find 11,000 votes. Or the guy that says retribution, that he'll go after CBS and arrest members of CBS and take them off the air and arrest members of the media, or someone that makes up they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. And then what happens? We have bomb threats and over 50 threats in that community, attacking legal Haitian immigrants, a lie about stealing pets and eating them. You want to vote for that guy? You want to vote for that ticket? I think it says a lot about who you are. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be joined by Politico's very own Daniel Litman. I want to know his thoughts on the statement that Donald Trump made about a female heckler over the weekend. That and more with Daniel Litman from Politico. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYou101.com.
Tired of the same old date night? Craving a deeper connection with your partner? O-Box is your escape into a world of romance and passion. Each month, discover a box filled with personalized surprises, exciting activities, and a love story written just for the two of you. Ignite desire, share laughter, and make memories that last a lifetime. Your O-Box journey culminates into a beautiful love novel. Ready to write the first thrilling chapter? Let the O-Box adventure begin. Visit our website, obox.com. That's OBOXXX.com. And get started.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Greenwood Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you could be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor. Shelley gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley for mayor.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Check out the official gaming bar of Pushing the Limits, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Great promotions they got going on, including the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games. And, of course, if you earn 350 points any Sunday this month, you are going to get $50 in free slot play. Check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. All right, so we had this Donald Trump campaign rally over the weekend. You have a female heckler that is being escorted out, and here's exactly what it sounded like.
Back home to mommy. She goes back home to mommy. Was that you, darling? And then she gets the hell knocked out of her. Her mother's a big fan of ours. You know that, right? Her father, her mother.
Gets the hell knocked out of her. Joining us to talk about this and other topics as well. It's been a while since we've had him on. He's a great journalist from Politico. Daniel Litman joining us right now. Daniel, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. How are you?
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here. When you first heard that audio, what went through your mind?
What went through my mind was what he had said in previous campaigns, like take them out on the stretcher, because that's kind of some of the rhetoric. We did a story, Politico did, my colleague Maya Ward, about she watched a bunch of rallies in the last few weeks, and she noticed that the rhetoric has gotten darker. And so it's demonizing immigrants more, talking about what he would do as president in a very, dark fashion. This is not like Ronald Reagan shining city on a hill rhetoric anymore. And so that's been noteworthy because he's trying to rile up his base and get them out to support him.
And that was my next question. Do you think he's doing this on purpose? And I think you just answered that, right? I mean, he's doing this on purpose, right?
He is a very smart tactician, and he knows what plays well. And there's a reason politicians usually do negative ads and campaigns, because they work. And so he's not dumb that this is, he kind of makes the bet that he's going to get more of his supporters out from the base instead of some Nikki Haley type women from the suburbs that he might lose to Harris. And so he's trying to drive up people who may be new to voting, because he needs to expand his base a little bit, but mostly among men, and not really focusing too much on appealing to women.
Right. So, Daniel, after the rally, I've been covering this, and I know you guys have as well, where you had all these people that were bussed in for the rally, and then hundreds of people were stranded after the rally in 94-degree temperatures. They had to walk hours back to their cars. No food, no water, no access to restrooms. What do you make of this?
Well, it's a pretty shoestring campaign at times, and this is a campaign that has struggled with money because Harris has raised $1 billion plus. And so the Trump campaign is much more frugal, and you can see that in terms of how many volunteers, how many paid organizers they have across the swing states. Now, they're not doing as much of that. That's been outsourced a lot to Elon Musk. But it's kind of a black eye that they had all these supporters, hundreds of them, kind of stranded in the middle of nowhere, lacking life necessities. And so, but it was also interesting that he had gone to Coachella in the first place, because he's not going to win California. And so there's some Republicans who might wonder, hey, what is he doing there? Shouldn't he be in Pennsylvania or Wisconsin?
Yeah, Daniel, that's a great question. Why is he in California? Why is he going to some of these states that are not battleground states? He knows he's going to lose some of these states. If they're being so frugal, which I agree with you, they are in the campaign, then why are they spending money sending him to these states where he virtually, at least in my estimation, has no chance of winning?
Well, he might be trying to do this a little bit to help House candidates, Republicans who are in areas of the country like New York or California where they're in jeopardy, because a lot of people think that the House may flip to become Democrat while the Senate may flip the other way and become Republican. And so, remember there was there was images of people leaving his earlier rallies in the last few months where Harris has made fun of, and Tim Walz has made fun of him for, hey, you're Mr. Rally guy, but you have people leaving your rallies early. And so if he can have a novel experience like Madison Square Garden, what New Yorker would not want to play Madison Square Garden? That's the kind of the dream. Whenever I give speeches, they're to a couple hundred people. They're not to Madison Square Garden myself. So I get I'll come back to me in 30 years and maybe I'll have hit Tony Robbins level.
No, that makes sense. Daniel Litman from Politico joining us. So Daniel, this guy who was arrested over the weekend, you had the California sheriff, Vem Miller is his name, by the way. The California sheriff is Chad Bianco, and he said he believed that his deputies prevented a third assassination attempt. This guy, Vem Miller, was actually in studio. I interviewed him 2 years ago because he ran for office. He's a fringe right-winger, as I'm sure you guys know. You've covered this. They released him on $5,000 bond. Why has this California sheriff come out and retracted what he said? I don't understand.
I think he was going over his skis, to borrow like a skiing metaphor. From Lake Tahoe, I've gone skiing there. It's a very nice area. I think that the sheriff might have wanted to be in the headlines a little bit, but it's kind of a black eye on police that if he is just because you're arrested, even though I think all these police are on hair trigger alert because there's been several incidents where the Florida one, the Pennsylvania in Butler, that if someone is arrested with a gun at a Trump rally, then they assume the worst, and they didn't really do they don't know the background of this guy. He gave an interview to a local outlet saying, "Hey, I'm actually a big Trump supporter. I didn't know the rules between Nevada and California state laws about guns." And so he may not have had an ulterior motive, but this is a person who said he's a sovereign citizen, and he's not, he's a very, him better than I do, but more of a.
Well, he's a lunatic. He's a lunatic. He had fake VIP passes. I think my last guest said, yeah, he's just kind of a tool, kind of a guy that, wants to do whatever he can to get access to all sorts of different people. And he went to the lengths of faking VIP passes to a Trump event. But certainly, in my estimation, and I think in yours as well, this was not even close to an assassination attempt. And I think this California sheriff, as you mentioned eloquently, doing a disservice to his own officers and law enforcement for doing so. Before I let you go, Daniel, you're so good at what you do, and I love what you guys do at Politico. Can you give out that information? How could people follow you and follow your articles on Politico?
So I'm D Litman on Twitter or X. That's DLIPPMAN. I tweet out all my scoops, and also we have you can subscribe to my articles. We have a web page. If you just search Daniel Litman Politico, you can just put in your email address and get my articles to your email. So
cool.
Thanks for subscribing.
Daniel, you're great at what you do, my man. Always appreciate the time. Hopefully we can have you on again before the elections. It's a busy couple weeks for both of us. And I appreciate you taking the time to do the show, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate that. That's Daniel Litman, everybody from Politico. I love Politico. They do a great job. All right. Now's the point in the show. I've had a lot of people hitting me up. When are you going to open up the phone lines? Here we go. Let's let it go, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of the show. 702-221-7283. What are we talking about? Because obviously we want to stay on topic. We're going to be talking about Vem Miller, the guy who was arrested over the weekend. California sheriff said it was an assassination attempt. It was not. He was released on $5,000 bond. So we're talking about that. We're talking about, once again, Donald Trump inciting violence to a heckler at his event. You heard what he said. We just played the audio. We're going to be talking about that as well with all of you. And then, again, my interview with David Pollock, your thoughts on that as well. And what do you make of Donald Trump's campaign stranding people, hundreds of his supporters, outside of Coachella? Buses aren't picking up those people and bringing them back to their cars with no food or water. Your thoughts on that as well. So we're going to dedicate the rest of the show hearing from you, my great listeners all over the country and really all over the world. We get calls from Switzerland, Australia, you name it. We get it. All right. Number to call one more time, 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you do want to be a part of the conversation. Okay, who are we going to first here? Let's go to Joseph. Joseph, what's going on, man?
Yeah, hey, Brian. All right, here's my piece. Hearing about what Trump says about that heckler, it goes to show that this is what it's like what Trump says about he wants somebody to beat the crap out of people. That also goes to show that this is what Trump wants. He wants to promote violence, which is why he wants that violent night, which he wants is as the purge. I mean, I would never say that sort of thing. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to go out there doing things that Trump wanted.
Right. Right. No, I agree with you. This is not the first time that Donald Trump has said stuff like this, and it certainly, at least in my estimation, in my opinion, won't be the last time, my friend. Good to hear from you, Joseph. I appreciate the phone call. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's going on, man?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hey, good, man. What's on your mind?
There's not a whole lot on my mind right now with 3 weeks left to go, except an expression that it's too late. And if people haven't awakened by now to what's going on in this country, I don't know how we're going to fix it in 3 weeks. I've been hearing this, if I shot somebody on Fifth Avenue, I could get away with it. And I've been hearing all this, pardon my French, but all this shit. And nothing sticks.
Yeah.
Nothing sticks. And I have relatives. I've lost friendships.
Yeah.
And what's going on in this country right now is very dark. Very dark.
Sure.
That he could even think that he could stand in a public forum and tell a mother to go home and beat the shit out of her daughter.
It's horrible.
I can't even wrap my mind around
David,
that.
can you imagine? I can't either. David, can you imagine if Kamala Harris is holding a rally? Now, she would never do this, but I'm just giving a hypothetical. And there was a female Trump heckler there. And then as they were escorting her away, the crowd chanting whatever they were chanting. And then Kamala Harris said the same thing. It would be
the kiss of death.
Right. It would be leading on Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and Mark Levin and all these shows. They wouldn't stop talking about it. They would play it over and over again. But if Donald Trump does it, it's par for the course, right?
Yeah, but just for his people, and the fact that that this is even a close election causes great concern. And it's not just me. All of my friends who are like-minded, for want of a better phrase, they can't even look at the news anymore. It's so depressing.
It is depressing, but at the same time, my friend, if we have an outcome that we want in November, we are going to be partying it up, and it will not be depressing. So let's hope that happens. Thank you for the call, David. 702-221-7283. Maureen is next. Hey, Maureen, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. I wanted to talk about the people that were stranded over the weekend at Trump's rally. I hope these people are not going to vote for him and realize who he is, and he will use people for a vote and then throw them under the bus.
Okay, Maureen, let me comment on that. I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm going to give you some news that you don't want to hear. I can almost guarantee you that every single one of those people will still be voting for Donald Trump. Why? Because they don't care about the 34 felonies. They don't care about the liable sexual abuse. They don't care about the swindler and the Trump University and, the racist, bigoted statements that he makes almost on a regular basis. They don't care about what he said about the legal Haitian migrants. So that means they certainly aren't going to care, even if something directly affects them, because his policies directly affect them. They're certainly not going to care if they had to walk a couple hours to their car. Now, they cared that night, but that's not going to be enough for them to switch their vote, because many of these people, not all of them, but many of these people are very uneducated, ill-informed people. And as Donald Trump said it himself, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they'll still vote for me. So sadly, the answer is overwhelmingly, these people are still going to support Donald Trump.
Unbelievable. You know what? They don't understand that if this idiot gets back in the White House, our democracy is gone, and they'll be the first ones that will be crying. Yeah. What happened? Oh, what did we do? They're going to lose everything. And once you lose democracy, it's not coming back.
But you know what these right-wingers would say? They would say, you're inciting violence, Maureen. Somehow you're inciting violence by saying he's a threat to democracy. But when Donald Trump incites a mob and people die, that's not inciting violence, and he bears no responsibility. But if we speak the obvious, the earth is not flat, it's round, and Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Somehow that means that we're inciting violence. That's how these stupid right-wing idiots think.
Unbelievable. I'm scared. I really am.
Well, it's okay to feel a little scared about what could happen. I think the correct word for me is worried, But I'll tell you this, you do your part. I promise you I'll do mine. And let's make sure that Donald Trump never sees the White House again, Maureen. And it's good to hear from you. Thank you so much.
you.
Appreciate you. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I believe Marion is next. Marion, thanks for calling in.
Hi, Brian.
Hi.
I've been listening to your show, and it actually calms me down a little bit to know there's a lot of people out there that think like us. Unfortunately, I live in an area where it's Trump country, and you can't have a conversation with them at all. They don't listen to anything, and my concern is that how do we get it across to them that this Project 2025 is going to take away so many things? It won't even look like the same country anymore.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So here's my response to that. The first thing I would say is there is a small percentage of people that are Trump supporters that you can get through to. I've proven that on this show, as I had several people last week who have said they've now changed their vote because of this show. And that's good. Sadly, the overwhelming majority of people that still support Trump, you will never be able to get through. Many of them are ill-informed. Many of them are uneducated. Many of them can't admit that they're wrong. Many of them are complicit. And they don't care about Project 2025. In fact, some of them endorse it and believe in it. Many of them are bigots, racists. They want abortion to be banned throughout the country. And many of these people, by the way, are middle-aged, crusty white men who want to tell a woman what to do with their own body. They're despicable. But it doesn't mean that there isn't hope. And when somebody calls into this show and they sound like they're somewhat reasonable with a brain, even though I might disagree with them, then I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to listen to them. And it has worked because some people that I do talk to, especially recently, not only call into the show and say they're hearing me and they're changing their vote, but they're willing to listen. So there is some hope, but sadly, many of these people are cult clan followers. Thank you for the call, dear. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next up on PTL. Hey, Jeff, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, I hope you had a good weekend.
I did.
So, listen, Trump regularly campaigns by saying, no wars on his watch. And I got to quote 20th century philosopher Lenny Dykstra. I call bullshit on that. In March 2020, Trump repeatedly claimed to be a wartime president when COVID was raging, and he was calling it the China virus. And there were 15 cases, and soon it will be 0. He made it very clear that it was a wartime situation and he was a wartime president. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe more lives were lost in Trump's handling of COVID than all U.S. wars combined.
Yeah.
And before these maggots call back and say, well, I'm died on Biden's watch, 400,000 were dead before Biden took office and the country was on fire with variants.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree. And when you look at this country compared to all the other countries in the world, we had one of the worst death rates per capita. And for one of the
in the world.
Yeah. It's horrendous, right? It's despicable.
So don't buy that crap about no wars. He lost the worst war we've ever faced, a biological war, because he was an asshat. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. Thank you, my friend. 702-221-7283. Asshat is one way to describe it. I agree. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Who are we going to next here? Let's see. Let's go to Richard. Richard is next up on PTL. Hey, Richard, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, Richard over here. I got a different point of view, though, man.
Okay.
I'm thinking that angry women abortion and women's autonomy, bodily autonomy, lost them the election a long time ago, man. Because I think angry women are going to turn out en masse. I mean, they already got registration websites crashing a couple of times, not just once.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think they're going to turn out en masse and really
get
them out of there.
So,
and also,
okay, hold on. I want to let you finish, but let's touch on that first, if I may. See, I think, and you can tell me whether you disagree, I think that's one of the main reasons why the Republicans didn't have that red wave that they promised in 2022, because abortion was on so many people's minds, if you recall. And listen, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of women out there that are very scared and angry, and even Republicans, and I think they're going to vote for Kamala Harris. So I think you're onto something. I agree with you.
Yeah, man. And also, they keep bringing up the economy, but as a veteran, I remember getting 3 letters for my GI Bill saying that my counselors were furloughed and had to quit. So the 3 government shutdowns that he had are also like a reminder of what a bad economy he had, apart from the bailout check. And like you guys said, we had like 3,000 dying per day. That's like a 9/11 every freaking day that he had for a long time. And he just never took, what was it? He said that he wasn't going to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
People remember that.
Do you remember when Donald Trump said he's the protector of women last week? Said he's the protector of women.
That's just blatant, like gaslighting people.
The guy's a liable sexual abuser. He's got 25 women that have accused him of rape or sexual assault, including his ex-wife. He's got 5 kids with 3 different women. He calls women names, and he says.
And as a veteran, I remember in the military hearing a lot about that too.
Right.
Like women grieving because they were assaulted, and the military not taking them serious.
Well, sir, let me thank you for
trying to be in charge.
Let me thank you for 2 things before I let you go. First of all, thank you for your service to this country. You're a hero. And I also thank you for being on the right side of history, my friend. So I appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for the socialized healthcare, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Have a good one. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I love my callers. I love certainly veterans, people that call into this show. By the way, just to remind that caller, Donald Trump has concepts of a healthcare plan. I just want to make that clear. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next on PTL. What's up, Mike?
Hey, how are you, man? I very much appreciate you letting me on the show.
Sure.
I'm a caller from Pennsylvania, a big swing state.
Wow. All right.
I've been doing my absolute best with about 7 coworkers who are in their between like age 30 and 40 who have never voted in their lives, have no interest in politics. I have been trying to drill into their heads. Please, like, let me explain these issues to you. You might not actually think you care about this, but it's going to directly affect you. So I've been talking to them for the better part of 6 months now, and I have convinced all 6 of them. I was like, listen, even if you don't care about this, I'm going to take you out to the nicest dinner over here in Philadelphia that you can ever have. It's on me. I will drive you to the polling place. You can get out of work early because I'm a supervisor. So like I can get that done for you. So I feel like I've done my part. I do feel like this is exhausting though. And I know that you feel it. I know that all of our callers that agree with us feel it.
Yes.
I'm signed up to become a poll worker, like a poll observer, on November 5th. That's the first time I'll ever do that, but I feel like our democracy is at stake. So I don't want, the MAGA maniacs to be pulling any kind of crap. Over here in Philadelphia, you don't see that so much, but nevertheless, even if there's a 1% chance, I'd rather, take the day and help out there. But I guess my question to you is, and I listened to you quite a bit. I found you maybe a couple weeks ago, and I'm subscribed, and I love what you do, so it's much appreciated. You definitely give me a sense to keep going when I feel like it's just so overwhelming that I just kind of want to just sit in my house and not do anything.
Well, if I can give you a little bit, of that energy or motivation, for lack of a better term, to do what you're doing because you're doing great work, then that means the world to me, and I appreciate hearing that.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. People like yourself and a couple others, I watch a couple of like the atheist networks. I know that's not exactly political, but if you're familiar with what The Line does or anyone like that, they've got a lot of people over there who do at least once a week, like political shows. And they're very much leaning towards full socialism, in that sense, which another thing that drives me nuts is just socialism is not this horrendous word that the right thinks that it is. They just use it as a means to just degrade and
they'll call you a socialist, and they have no problem with Donald Trump sending COVID test kits to the Kremlin.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Mike, what was your question, my friend? Go right ahead with your question.
Well, I guess my general question is that I feel like we all feel this fatigue. And we're down to the last stretch here. I'm, doing the best I can. I'm going to go canvassing again this weekend. So I do find the energy, but sometimes it just feels like, man, this race is so damn close that it's just making me really uncomfortable. And at times, when I look at the reality of the fact that he could very well win the big states, it's like, it might very well come down to Pennsylvania. Is what the
very
pollsters
well,
and-
yeah. So I hear what you're saying. So first of all, let me just say it's okay to be a little uncomfortable. A lot of people, especially on the left, were way too comfortable in 2016. We all know the result there. So it's okay to feel a little bit uncomfortable and doing what you are doing. If you want to speak to uncomfortable, just ask Stormy Daniels, but that's another for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
She was very uncomfortable, but that's another story for another show. But listen, let me say this in closing, Mike. Thank you for what you're doing. People like you are going to make a difference. And I can't wait, at least I hope, that we get the result that we want. And then you can call into the show and I could congratulate people like you for doing what you do, my friend. So please keep up the great work.
I don't need the congratulations, but I would love to come on after everything's said and done. And hopefully the good side wins and I can, give you some experiences.
Well, that would be,
I have a strong feeling that I'm going to deal with some BS from the other side.
Well, you're going to have to deal with that no matter what the result is, but you just keep doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you being a loyal listener of this show, and you keep it up, my friend, and hopefully we'll be able to celebrate.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you. Like again, the big reason why I'm so motivated this year more than some of the others. I mean, I've always been a voter, but ever since I was 18, I was voting at every election. But this year in particular, it was always just like I always voted, and that's kind of it. But this year, I've been really, really, really going hard with family, friends, associates, and the ones who were kind of never about Trump, but they were also sort of like, we don't really care because we think they're both the same. And I had to explain to them time and time again how this is not the same. And like,
welcome to my life.
Candidate,
welcome to my life. I have to do that every day, Mike, but I appreciate you calling.
I listen to it and I enjoy it. So all the work you do inspires me, and I will continue to do what I can. So thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Same to you. And that means a lot to me, Mike. You sound like a great guy, and I appreciate what you're doing. And that what gives me the motivation to keep doing this show every day is because of good people out there like you. Love my listeners. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carrie. Carrie is next up on PTL. Hi, Carrie.
Hey, Brian. This is Carrie from North Carolina. We talked a couple of weeks ago, but hey, Brian, how are you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go right ahead.
You hear me now?
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm Carrie from North Carolina. Love your show, and I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, but I just wanted to touch base about Governor Roy Cooper is the sweetest man in the world, and because of something Trump tweeted out over the weekend about how, Biden and Camilla aren't helping North Carolina, and it's really getting to the point where the conspiracy theories are starting to hurt the morale of a lot of the FEMA workers we have here and the volunteers. And it's just so frustrating that he can just tweet these things out. And there are people actually believing it, because I've seen men around here making TikTok videos threatening.
Can I ask you about that? Because in North Carolina, wasn't there just a story recently about a white, right-wing, white, middle-aged dude who was threatening FEMA workers? And I heard that story, some guy from North Carolina, if I recall. And it's all started with the right-wing rhetoric put forth by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and those on the extreme right, lying about FEMA and lying about aid and lying about this administration.
He did it again this weekend, and Governor Cooper, who is the sweetest man, he called him out on Twitter finally and just said this is a lie and called him out on conspiracy theories, which I hate that he has to spend time doing this and trying to prove.
That's another good point. I want to emphasize what you just said. The governor should be focused on helping his people. And by the way, he's a good man. And he is. But he shouldn't have to go on social media and talk to the media and call out the lies being put forth by Trump. It's so time consuming and it's exhausting, and I'm sure it's stressful for him. But see, these right-wing MAGA, they don't even care. They believe
it.
Yeah, they do, because they're stupid. Let's call it for it. They're stupid, these people. Just like they believe this guy tried to kill Donald Trump over the weekend. They're stupid, these people. That's his base. I'm sorry, I'm just going to call it out again. The base of Donald Trump supporters are dumb white people. That is who you are. If you're a middle-aged white person and you're supporting Donald Trump, there's a high possibility that you're stupid. You're uneducated, you're ill-informed, and you watch your Newsmax and your Fox News all day, and you're brainwashed and you're dumb. I'm not going to sit here and be nice, okay? I'm going to be honest. Not every Trump supporter is stupid, but many in his base are. You believe every word this dope says. And I've had it with you people. I've had it. You're some of the dumbest people America has to offer. Just go to one of Donald Trump's rallies, man. Go to one of his rallies. What do you think the average IQ of a citizen that goes to Donald Trump's rallies is? They're so dumb with their Confederate flags and their gold sneakers and their Trump Bibles. It's like those dopes that were ganging up on me outside the Harris rally. The Trump, I would call them Trump agitators, Trump supporters, whatever they were, Trump cultists. These are some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. That is Donald Trump's base, ladies and gentlemen. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Tiffany. Tiffany's next on PTL. What's up, Tiffany?
Hi, Brian. It's my first time calling.
Oh, well, thank you, Tiffany, for calling in. What's on your mind today?
I really enjoy your podcast.
Thank you. Where are you
I
calling
watched
from?
those clips that you, Georgia.
Georgia. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So a little nervous, but voting blue up and down the ballot. 36. This will be the first time I'm voting. I was that naive person who always thought my one vote won't matter.
Right.
But this time, my vote is my voice, and it will matter, especially since I'm in a swing state.
Damn right. And you're not alone, by the way. I didn't vote in 2016 because I didn't like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, but I made a mistake, and I own it. I had no idea the monster that Donald Trump was back then. Oh, boy, do I know now. I didn't make that mistake in 2020, and I ain't making that mistake next month, and I know you're not either. Our voices need to be heard. I know the Electoral College is a joke. It's rigged for Republicans, but it doesn't matter. That can't deter us. We have to go. We have to vote and make sure Orange Clown doesn't get back to the White House.
Yes. I'm a veteran. My husband is active duty Navy. And so obviously I'm worried for him. We were stationed in Japan. He had to walk by that horrible picture of him every single day. And I do not want that for him and for obviously everybody, this whole country, and for around the world.
Well, you
it's
both
not
are
just
heroes.
our country.
You both are heroes, and thank you for your service. And Donald Trump would call you suckers and losers, right? He would call you both suckers and losers. I don't respect him because he was captured. The draft dodger himself. I don't know how anybody who served this country could vote for Donald Trump. You sound like a lovely lady. Please call back again, Tiffany. And I really appreciate you. And please thank your husband for me for his service as well. I have heroes that listen to the show, all sorts of different people from all over the country that listen to the show, informed people, intelligent people, educated people. And I'm very grateful for that. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jack. Jack is next on PTL. What's up, Jack? Hi, Jack. Are you there? Oh, did we lose Jack? I think we might have lost him. Do we have him? Jack, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. Go ahead, Jack. Yep. Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just calling in because, you mentioned a couple of times the stranding his followers in the desert. And honestly, for a bit, I felt sorry for them right up until they started with the conspiracy theories about how it's the mayor trying to sabotage Trump. I truly believe the sheriff is really trying to take up for Trump. Hey, he didn't forget about you guys. There was a whole thing with the guy with the gun, and they're going to buy it.
You are so right. For the record, I appreciate your compassion. Maybe I'm not as compassionate as you, but they could all go fly a kite. They deserve it. If you're dumb enough to get on a bus and go way out of your way to listen to orange turds speak incoherently about Hannibal Lecter and electrocuting sharks for an hour to an hour and a half, then you deserve to go through the hell that those people had to go through. So I don't feel sorry for them one bit. I do find it interesting that you're absolutely right. The conspiracy theories were flying. Oh, it turns out the bus company did respond to the media. Yes, it does turn out that they did not get paid, and that was intentional. So those conspiracy theories are nothing but lies, and it's all the same stuff that we hear from the far right on a regular basis.
Absolutely. And to add to that, this isn't the first time he's done something like that.
Correct. You're right.
It was either Iowa or Indiana, somewhere cold. He left them stranded out in the
he does this all the time.
Wilderness.
Look at it in the middle of the summer, all the people that had to go to the hospital for heat exhaustion. He does these rallies outside in Vegas when it's 120 degrees out. You're absolutely right, my friend, and I appreciate your call. I don't feel sorry for those people at all. They're all a bunch of dopes as far as I'm concerned. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is next. What's up, Patrick?
Brian, man, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Bill Clinton and Obama sabotaging the Harris campaign, man. What are they up to? Why are they doing this?
Okay, so first of all, why would you say they're sabotaging? They're former presidents of the United States. By the way, can you name me one speaking of sabotage, can you name me one former president that's alive today that's supporting Donald Trump? Can you just name me one?
Bush and Dick Cheney are now on your side, and how does that make you feel? You
that wasn't the question.
Being on your side?
I didn't ask you who's on my side.
And all the Bush,
hold on, Patrick,
are now on your side.
Patrick, you're not
All
answering.
the warmongers.
Patrick, you're not
That's
answering.
great, man.
Patrick, I'd like you to answer my question directly, and then I'm happy to answer anything that you ask. Okay? Can you name me one former president that is alive today that is supporting Donald Trump? Yeah, can you?
There's not one.
Thank you. Okay, checkmate. Okay, so now Barack Obama okay, now I'm going to answer your question. Thank you for answering mine. Okay. Barack Obama and Bill Clinton are not sabotaging anything. First of all, most would say Barack Obama, probably the best politician as far as speaker-wise, making speeches of anybody in the world. If anything, Barack Obama, and by the way, most Republicans would even agree that Barack Obama is going to help Kamala Harris's campaign. He and Bill Clinton are not sabotaging anything. Most Republicans would admit Bill Clinton left his presidency with a surplus. He did some stupid things. I get it. He lied about Monica Lewinsky, but he was a pretty damn good president. So why would you say, Patrick, that they are, quote, sabotaging Kamala Harris's campaign? Why would you phrase the question like that?
Bill Clinton just came out and said that because of the unvetted immigration policies, Lincoln Rally died. And if it wasn't for this administration and the way they handled the border, it was unbelievable. I can't believe he said that.
First of all,
and then Obama comes out and says that Harris has a problem with the brothers.
That is absolutely not true. Barack Obama never said that Kamala Harris has a problem with the brothers. You are a liar, Patrick.
Yeah, he did.
He did not say that. First of all, he did not say that she has a problem with black men. You are 100% a liar. If anything, you have a problem with black men. Did she turn black, Patrick? I think you have a problem with black people.
Yeah. Hey, we already talked about this. I agree with Don Lemon.
Patrick, what do you think about black people?
Well, I agree with Don Lemon.
I didn't ask you about Don Lemon. I'm asking you a question. Patrick, what do you think about black people in general?
I think they're just as American as I am. They're Americans. They're not African Americans. They're black Americans. Okay. I love my black people. I love my Mexican people.
Good. So
I love my white people.
Gotcha. So why is it then that Donald Trump and so many on the far right say that Kamala Harris turned black? Do you believe she turned black?
I agree with Don Lemon. What can I told you?
I'm not asking you about Don Lemon. I'm asking. I don't know what you're talking about. Did she turn black?
In 2019, he had a panel on CNN.
I don't care about what Don Lemon did. I'm asking you, not Don Lemon.
I thought you were boys with.
Are you going to answer my question, or are you going to be an idiot like you always are? I'm asking Patrick a question, not Don Lemon. I'm not interviewing Don Lemon right now. Do you think Kamala Harris turned black? Answer the question.
I never thought. I don't think she is black. I agree with Don Lemon.
Well, I don't think you have an IQ over 20. Have a nice day. Her father is from Jamaica, you doofus, you right-wing buffoon, you. I don't think she's black. I don't think you're American. Why don't you go back to Afghanistan and live in your cave? 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Shirley. Shirley, I believe, is next on PTL. We're going to try to get as many callers as we can. Let's go to Shirley. Shirley, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
I would like to remind people that Donald Trump left people stranded in Idaho back in, I think it was in 2020, doing one of his, and it was freezing cold for those people. It looked like his people would be smart enough not to ride buses to see him because he left them stranded in Idaho too.
Right.
And also, I live in North Carolina, and our governor is dealing with people trying to shoot the FEMA workers. How about that? We had to arrest a guy for trying to shoot the FEMA workers
and guess
in
what?
North Carolina.
You know, and you're right about that. You know what's even more sad, and that's pretty awful, is the fact that they had to hold off on helping people with aid for a couple days because of this right-wing lunatic.
Because of that.
Right.
Yeah, because of that.
Right. But, you know,
it's crazy.
It is crazy, but how did it start? It started because Donald Trump and his right-wing, right, he started with the lies about FEMA, the right-wing conspiracy theories, and then you have threats against FEMA, and the good people, Republicans and Democrats in North Carolina, are not able to get aid because of it. Thank you for the call, dear. I'm running a little bit short on time. Let's quickly go to David. David, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad I followed her because when you think about Donald Trump as a real estate developer, he knows there's a book that backs it up. It's called The Shock Doctrine. Mm-hmm. He knows that the best way to get land is you have a disaster.
Yeah.
People are forced to sell their land cheap because of the disaster. And if let's say COVID becomes an epidemic and people become sick and they end up with insane hospital bills, whether or not they die, they're forced to sell their land to pay off the medical bills. Correct. And who's there to snap it up at tax auction or the cheapest possible prices? Donald Trump and his real estate.
But you're 100% correct. And this is the same guy who sells his Bibles. This is the same guy who has concepts of a health plan. You're absolutely right, sir. And a great point and good call. Thank you all for joining us today and the calls throughout the country. I do believe I have some of the smartest listeners in all of the country, with the exception of a few that call into the show that say Kamala Harris turned black. What can you do to help me? What can you do to help the show? We're an independently run radio show, kind of like public radio. So we rely on people like you. Here's what you do. Check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website, pushingthelimits.live. We sell merchandise on there, shirts, hats, PTL gear, some cool stuff. If you don't want to buy merchandise, that's fine. If you go to pushingthelimits.live on that front page, you'll see a donate button. Doesn't matter whether it's $5, $10, or $20. Your generosity is really appreciated. And that's how we get to do what we do on the air every single day. Tomorrow's going to be another day, folks. I'll tell you what, I'll try to take some more phone calls tomorrow. I know we weren't able to get to all the calls today, but I appreciate all of you for your patience. We'll take some more phone calls tomorrow. I appreciate all of you for joining us. And I also appreciate our guest, David Pollock, and of course, Daniel Litman from Politico. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Join my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, X at PTL Radio Show, where I'm very interactive. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
In these uncertain times, we need a leader who puts policy over politics.
I'm Ron Quince. I am beyond the bickering and what we see today. I am running to fight for your values, faith, family, and freedom.
Ron Quince stands for safe borders, lower taxes, and lower prices.
Let's take our country back, one community, one vote at a time. I am Ron Quince, and I'm asking for your vote because every vote matters. I am Ron Quince, and I approve this message.
I'm Shelley Berkeley, and I approve this message.
Shelley Berkeley, a proud Las Vegan who shatters barriers, becoming the first in her family to attend college, and served as UNLV's student body president, serving in the Nevada legislature, the University Board of Regents, and 7 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Shelley excelled as the senior VP of the Toro University system. Shelley Berkeley, a dedicated mother and family woman. Shelley has the experience we need as our next mayor.
¿Cómo
Shelley
estás?
gets things done.
Paid for by Shelley Berkeley.
What the hell am I listening to?
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch, Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab
Well,
a
hello
pie.
there. That was
Plus,
an interesting.
check out our
Hello. I don't even want to know. I don't know if I want story time. Oh, it's Big L in the house. Oh. You're good. Turn him down a little. He's a little hot. We'll give him that. Up, 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 up. Right there. Right there. Right there. Okay.